Welcome to Shine, Delusion, Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries. I am Vicki Todd, and together with Dr. Pat, we will learn to push the boundaries of our minds, to think delusionally, and create fertile ground for our big dreams to seed, grow, and manifest. Each episode, we will gain more ability to think delusionally and cultivate beyond boundaries faith that we can accomplish dreams which seem unreachable. Shine, Delusion, Shine is a springboard to believing, dreaming, and thinking beyond the ordinary, and a catalyst to living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life. You are born with dreams, gifts, and talents you are meant to use to make this world brighter. Let your delusional dreams shine. It all starts now.
Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Pat, and I get to take this journey with the most incredible host of the show, Shine, Delusion, Shine, Vicki Todd. This is about the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries. Today, this is a great episode. And I say that because there's so much conversation about it. Got fear? Quit or grow, your choice. Vicki, I can't tell you how important and how many times this has shown up already this year for so many people. Everything from complaining about kidney problems, which is all about fear, right? So for you, you selected this. Give me the punchline about what popped up for you and tell us about your art behind you.
Okay. Well, I think that just reading about the fire horse,
Hmm.
because one time every 60 years is when the fire horse shows up. And so it popped up February 17th last week, right? And so what I've been reading about this is not the year to play small. This is not the year to
No.
say, you know what, this seems too big. Oh well, I'll quit and just forget it. And I've been reading that our intuition, our gut is so much stronger in this year. And so that's kind of what got me going. This is not the year to say it's too much. I'm scared. I'm just going to quit and
Yeah.
be small. This is the year to expand, and you don't have to know the plan. Just move with that forward momentum, that fire of your intuition and gut. And I really believe this year, this is your North Star, and it will lead you in the right direction.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about some of the bumps in the road. It's kind of like, let's walk us through the calendar, but also to talk about the year and talk about the energies of this. Because a lot of, what's the right word? I want to say a lot of fear-based propaganda just got out there. So here's what I want to say. I did a show with Mark the other night and I compared the last year of the fire horse. While it did have its moments of challenges, it was one of the most creative breakthrough decades or years specifically for Motown. For
Mm,
example, Diana Ross and the Supremes, out of
yeah.
nowhere, topped the chart. So, can you talk about this energy and how we don't waste the energy and become the Diana Ross people that we were meant to be?
That's going to be my new slogan, become the Diana Ross of this
Come
year.
the Diana Ross. Yeah, I
Um,
mean, yeah,
yeah,
because they
I love
did it
that.
when nobody said they would. They were by
Oh,
the way, they
yeah.
were the first female group to make the top of the billboards.
Oh, that's wonderful. I love
I
her.
know.
I love her hair. Um, so the way that I'm understanding it, the way I'm picturing it, if you can picture an open meadow, right? And this beautiful fire horse is just galloping, just straight, fast, forward momentum, forward ahead. That can seem kind of scary because it's like, whoa, hold on, horse. I don't know if I'm ready to go at this speed yet. But what I found very interesting, I read an article that this is also the Mayan year of the deer. And that perked up my ears because deer is one of my ancestral symbols that I'm using in my artwork and using in my ancestral memoir book that I'm very close to finishing. And so if you have the fire horse in the middle of this field, just galloping, galloping, galloping at full speed, picture the deer over by the side by the trees, close to the forest. And she is rooted to this deep wisdom. And I also love that because in one of my ancestor kind of fairy tale stories in my book, I have a deer and roots are going out of her hooves deep into the ground and connecting to this ancestral wisdom, divine river flowing through. And deer are very aware. And so, from what I've read with that, those two energies of horse and deer together, the deer can give you structure of, being really rooted in wisdom and being aware. Well, I've also read that it's a phoenix year, a phoenix rising year. And I love the word gently in this because it said the phoenix is gently burning away anything that does not serve you anymore and really revealing your true
Yeah.
self. And so the phoenix isn't necessarily about, oh, a brand new you. Where did this come from? It's the you that you were born to be. And that phoenix energy, that phoenix fire is just gently burning away anything that's limiting you. So with those three together, fire, horse, deer, and phoenix, that is powerful energy. And so let's take advantage of that this
Yeah.
year and be the Diana Ross of this fire horse year.
Yeah. And, I love that you're bringing in multi dimensions. I was talking to somebody the other day and they heard one of the shows I did. I remember when I was talking about it. And I mentioned that this is a very different fire horse year than 1966. And they said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, wait a minute. You got to take a look at the bigger picture. First of all, you have to look at that year was a 5 year. So you
Okay.
had, from a numerology perspective, the fire horse in the middle of the freedom, transition, break free from old patterns year. Hence, Motown #1 hits.
Yeah.
It was a year of restlessness,
Hmm.
right? Unpredictability. But this is a 1 year, to
Yes.
your point about the deer.
Yes.
And what is this about? Fresh start, independence, self expression, energizing, pioneering, proactive. I mean, what we're seeing with AI, nobody could have predicted. So, from where you sit, right, give us a sense of how we move through these years. And I have to tell you, let me hit you up with this.
Okay.
Not only is this a 1 year for fresh starts, but so far this year, we're people that have a big idea are being tested. They're being tested between, do I quit or do I move forward? Tell us about that quitting energy.
Okay. I had this subhead in this outline of Are you a quitter? And I know
Yeah,
that sounds really rude, but there's a good reason behind it. Last fall, I saw an interview on 60 Minutes. A wonderful artist, Amy Sherald. She's painted one of the beautiful portraits of the First Lady portraits of Michelle Obama. It was the one with the white dress with this big flowing skirt and
yeah,
the colorful graphic prints on the skirt. And so she was talking with Anderson Cooper about her career and her latest exhibit. And she said something that just stopped me in my tracks. She said, there's so many people who quit. There's so many quitters out there. And I, speaking as Amy, have always thought, if I keep going, something has to happen. And I thought, wow, I've never put it in those terms, but I have the exact same process because, this is my 11th year. February 24th, 2015 is when I sent in the official resignation email for my tenured professor job. And so that was only 2 days ago. And so this is a good reminder. So 11 years of working on, my art and building up. And so I usually say, you know what, God, you haven't brought me this far to leave me, so I'm just going to
that's
keep
it.
moving forward. And so
That's
it's
it.
the same concept, but I haven't thought about it as a quitter before. But why quit? How disappointing is that? So I love that momentum of just keep going. And it doesn't have
Yeah.
to be just rushing forward. It could be, small steps.
It's so funny you mentioned that because, the thing that pushed me towards the not quitting energy was the fact that this is a fresh start year. So,
Mhm.
for those people that are thinking you're at the end of the year rope, take a minute to do what Vicky does. Look at a blank canvas
Mm,
and think about what you want to create and then move forward ahead on that. Because, Vicky, don't you think sometimes, especially when you're talking about artists and work, don't you think sometimes you really put your life and soul, you bump into a bunch of challenges and you
yeah,
don't give yourself time for a fresh start, for some way to say, I'm going to stop here. I'm not going to
yeah.
quit. but what if I went and spent a little bit time over here, which of course I love to do. What do
Yes.
you think about that movement?
I love it. It's kind of like following the breadcrumb clues, the breadcrumb trail. And I've kind of lived my life that way, not, consciously meaning to, but it just kind of happened that way. But when you said blank canvas, that reminded me of my Aunt Ruth, who's my mother's older sister, and she's passed now, but she was an artist. She painted china and she also did oil painting on canvas. And she had said to me one time, when I had quit my professor job and was getting into art, and I said something about I'm starting a new painting, and she said, "Oh, a blank canvas, that's kind of scary." And I was like, to me, it's not. To me, it's kind of like, oh, it's excitement, possibility. So I was kind of surprised that she said that. But, she was one of those go-getter people that even when my Uncle Pat, after he resigned, he started traveling around the country and giving speeches. And so they got a Winnebago and she would travel with him. And she got a small China painting kiln that you could use a regular plug. And she would do her China painting on the road. And so that woman didn't give up. And so it's kind of like just the next thing. It's like following a little butterfly. And where is that butterfly going to land? Which flower are they going to land on and then pollinate to the next flower? And so another analogy, because I love having pictures in my head as an artist, the Chinese bamboo
Ugh,
plant, which is gorgeous. But I've heard that the first 4 years, it looks like absolutely is nothing happening.
nothing's happening.
Nothing is happening. It's
Yep.
all happening underground. And so it's building for 4 years, this extensive root system that goes down deep, just like the roots coming out of the deer's hooves going down. And then in the fifth year, it pops up and it grows up to 90 feet in 5 or 6 weeks. And
Yep.
so think about that. If it pops up with something that fast and that big without a good root system, it would topple over, right? And so I think that's what we're talking about is maybe it's not that, oh no, nothing is happening, I'm failing, nobody's noticing me, I'm kind of wasting my time. No, you're building your roots. And so what are the roots? It's learning new skills. It's learning from your failures, your experiences, your victories. All of that is growing. And so even if other people can't see it, you can see it. And so
Yeah.
I think that's so important to have that time. And maybe like with me, I have come to two forks in the road in my life. I look back at these, and the first one especially, I do not recognize this person that I was, when I'm thinking about it or writing about it. 1998, I was married in Texas. I hadn't been working in the industry for 4.5 years because I had quit working to help manage the hair salon. My ex-husband was a hairdresser, and I didn't do hair, so I'm not bringing him money. I had been very vocal. I do not want to have children. I had told him before we got married. My mother has known this since I was 6 because when I told her I don't want to be like you, mom. And in my 7th year of marriage, my 7-year itch, quote unquote, my mom was just, pushing me, badgering me. You've got to have a kid. And I really think that that was more for her because her friends were having grandkids. And so I caved. And I eventually had a miscarriage in May of 1998. 2 months later, I'm in this failing marriage. I'm not working. I've been out of the industry at that point for 4.5 years. My master's degree is 8 years old. I am lost. I mean, my true self is gone, self-esteem buried in the ground. And I got a call to teach this public relations writing class at Texas Tech University, which led to getting a doctorate degree, getting divorced and starting this whole career as an academic. And so if I had said, no, I'm too scared, oh my God, Pat, where would I have been?
I know.
Right?
I know.
And then fast forward to 2015, when, yes, I have this wonderful academic job as a professor in Connecticut, 10-year chair of my department. And I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to fulfill my destiny as an artist because I had done a meditation. It's like, this is what you need to do. And that was scary because I had no plan, no way to make money, what's going to happen. If I had stayed there, like I said, it's been 11 years since I resigned.
Yep.
I wouldn't be doing the art and
Oh,
sculpting in my one woman show and now my ancestral memoir because I didn't start most of those skills until 2018. And you don't learn to sculpt overnight, right? So that's what I mean by doing all these things to get your roots down deep and under, to support you.
yeah. I want to talk about this because it all generates from dreams and visions. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about, something similar because you know my story. I
Yeah.
mean, I woke up one day and the way I talk about it when I do a keynote is I said I woke up in 1992 and an alien took over my body. I'm sure of it because who I was as a corporate executive wasn't right anymore. But I
Right.
want to talk about this in the context of this year.
Mm,
I mean, and go through some of this. If we quit,
mm.
and there's a bunch of us that have had this playing in our minds because it's not spirit. Spirit doesn't talk to you like that. It's
Right.
some other dark energy.
Right.
But if we quit, we lose our gifts. Talk about that.
Oh my gosh. I've heard the saying that, what are the richest places on earth? And you think, well, is it the oil fields? Is it the diamond mines? Is it the, Silicon Valley or whatever? No, it's cemeteries because that's where people, if they didn't fulfill their dreams or manifest their
Yeah,
God-given gifts, they're buried with the people in the cemetery. To me, that is the saddest thing on
yeah,
earth.
yeah.
And I wrote about it in my one woman show. I have a chapter about it in my new book that's called Hi God, It's Me, Vicky. Because part of my motivation of why I took the chance on getting rid of that traditional life in 1998 to move toward academia. And then in 2015 to say, you know what, this is great. I have this job for life, but sorry, gotta go. I do not want to come before God on the last day of my life. And he says to me, I gave you all these great gifts. You're an artist, you're a teacher, you're a sculptor, you're a playwright, maybe I'm a screenwriter, right? What did you do with those gifts? I don't want to have to say, oh, I'm so sorry, God. I was too afraid, so I stayed stuck where I was.
Exactly.
I
Exactly.
cannot do that. And so
Yeah.
that's one of my biggest motivators is keep going. God put these gifts in you and everybody out there for a reason. You're meant to use them. There is a divine timing schedule of when they're coming out. So be patient. I say that knowing that I'm not the most patient person, but if you can just hold on and keep moving forward and keep developing those gifts and getting stronger, getting those roots deeper,
Hmm.
it's gonna pay off. So
Yeah.
please do not quit.
It really is. I mean, one of the hardest lessons to learn is one of the things you learn in recovery, but it's also in the scriptures. Faith without works is dead. Now,
Mm.
I will tell you for the longest time, up until very recently, I will admit, I thought it's I thought it said faith without works is death.
Oh, well,
Yeah,
it's kind of the same.
it is. But the death thing hit somebody like me who is in recovery, like, what?
Mm.
So, what am I trying to say? So, what have we seen so far this year as we're looking? We have seen some things come out that are so mind blowing. I mean, talk about the Super Bowl halftime for a minute.
Oh
Let's
my
talk
gosh.
about that because, those of us that are late blooming Latina girls, because we discovered grandpa lied, born in Brazil as a farmer, who doesn't figure that out? Well, they didn't know we'd have the internet. But talk about some of these things that are showing up and happening. See, because we focus so much on the gloom and doom, we forget the magical surprises.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had been in my studio all day on the day of the Super Bowl because sorry, I wasn't going to watch the game. And I didn't know when the halftime would be, but I had been in the studio. I went to the grocery store, unloaded my trunk, got all this stuff done. And I thought, I wonder when the halftime show is coming on. I sit down, turn on my TV, it starts. Perfect timing. And so I just thought this is pure, unfiltered joy with
Yeah,
Bad Bunny's halftime performance. But the thing that I started crying was when he gave his Grammy to the little version of him that was his younger self at
I
5 or
know.
6 years old, and then
Oh,
patting him on the head and giving it to him. And it's like, hold on, kid, this is who you're going to be. Oh, that just gives me chill bumps.
Oh
And
my God.
so, I mean, that is the definition of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure he didn't know that as that 5-year-old in Puerto Rico.
But he was so, you see, this is it. There's a dream. And, I
Mm,
want to make it a plea for those of you out there. And I want you to know that we do not compare our dreams and our visions. Once upon a time, my vision was to be able to get out of bed. I'm
mm,
telling you, and I wish I could tell you that was like a lot of years ago. No. And the message I got was get sober.
mm.
So the bottom line is you don't have to have a gigantic dream or vision, but what's in your heart? And
Yeah.
by the way, Vicky, let's jump to this point because John DeMartini, I'm actually getting ready to play one of his shows on the network. I came old school 2005 show with him. One of the things he used to say is you may get contrasts like Bad Bunny didn't always have it easy. So you may get a contrast when you declare your dream. What would a contrast be? They show up in ways to see if you got what it's take. And
Yeah.
they're weird. They show up in strange places to see if you've got the guts to stand up for yourself. What do you think of that?
Oh, absolutely. It's a test. It's a test to see, like you said, do you have the gumption? How bad do you want it, basically? And, I've said this almost every show, the story with me and my mom, to have your mom me at the age of 50, after I've quit my job, and I tell her, and she says, I'm so embarrassed of you. You're going to fail. Nobody wants your art on their wall. And it went on and on and on until the last time I saw her, that was in 2015. The last time I saw her was December 2019. And she was so soft on that day in her memory care facility. And she introduced me, this is my beautiful daughter, Vicky, an artist in Santa Fe. That
Wow.
was so worth it. And so that to me was a test of how bad do you want this? Are you going to give up? She wanted me so badly to quit and say, well, I'll just go back and get another academic teaching job. She wanted that so badly that I found out at my dad's funeral in January 2018 that she had told ladies in the community of Happy, Texas that, oh, Vicky's teaching at Seattle College. I wasn't teaching anywhere. And so I was like, no. And I thought, I'm not going to perpetuate her story. I'm just going to tell the truth and say, no, I'm not. And a lady came back and asked me twice. And so I'm like, no, that's not true. So, okay, I'm gonna
But there are tests. I
yes,
mean, and I know that's probably not the right word. I wish we could come up with a better word. It's sometimes they're subtle, Vicky.
yeah,
But don't you think we're shown like your mom? Don't you think we're shown things like that to maybe help us get a court up instead of a court down?
yes, absolutely. And you may not see it at the time. Hindsight is 2020, right?
That's
Besides
true.
the February 24th being the anniversary of me quitting my tenured job, I also got a wonderful memory on Facebook that February 24th, 2022 was the opening night of my one-woman show here in Santa Fe, talking about this struggle with my mom and my path to being an artist. And it had pictures and this really great write-up from the Theater Santa Fe people, 30 body prints, on the stage and these other paintings. And I thought, I did that.
Yeah.
Look, God, we did that.
Yeah.
And it really hit me, straight in the face that, wow,
Yeah.
that was awesome. And now those stories are being expanded and woven into my book. So nothing is ever wasted and just keep going.
Yeah. We have to really decide. For example, I started to give up on fighting for my trademark.
Mm,
I created the word unstuckable, and a company out of, I don't know where they are, literally took it and
mm,
decided to print things.
yeah.
And now I'm in a battle to get something back that I created. And I almost quit because the trademark examiner is like, oh, you're using their words. And I'm like, to my attorney, you need to write them. But you see, we're getting hit with these things, I do believe, that want us to either, are you in it to win it? Or are you throwing in the towel? And sometimes they're small. How do
Mhm.
you think about that? Especially painting and especially some of the things you've done. I mean, I did shows with you when you literally were painting during the show.
Yes. And did I want to do that? I remember
No.
Linda said, "Well, why don't you do it live?" And my response was, "Hell no," because I mean, it scared me, right? And then after I
Yeah.
started doing it, I'm like, "Oh yeah, you can do this live, no problem." One thing that you just said, it's like a fork in the road. Where do you go? I think to me, when I hit those moments, because one of the forks, I think I'm going to show this person up and I'm going to be so determined and I'm going to show them what's what and blah, blah, blah. I don't necessarily think that's the right road to take.
No.
I think the better road to take is to get quiet with yourself, your higher power, and say, okay, what is the right path for me? And then you can feel kind of that holy determination that this is the right
Mm,
path. And, I'm going to let God fight my battles, but I'm going to keep moving forward
mm,
as, and being in a aligned and connected way. And so, this is the year, people, to say, let's go,
yeah. Yeah.
forward.
Now, I want people to know how they can find out about you, how they can work with you, because you're also a coach, you're an artist, you're all of the above. What's the best way for people to take a look at your art and kind of figure out what you're doing? What's up next for Vicky?
The most current way is on Facebook and Instagram at Vicky, Vicki World Art. I also have my website, vickyworldart.com. My book, I'm getting the final chapters done, and it should be published, I think, late summer, early fall. I hope. And so you'll be hearing more about that. But those are the best ways. Social media, you'll see my process and everything.
Mhm.
And so, yeah.
Uh, Few seconds left here. I'd love to know your closing message for us.
I want us to challenge ourselves this year. We have this wonderful, three-part momentum, fire horse, deer, phoenix. And so let's choose something that's really been bubbling up in our consciousness. And even if it scares us to death and it's way over our head, let's do it. And I'm doing it too, people, because I've heard of a company, I've had 2 meetings with them to give your story. They're looking for people outside the quote unquote Hollywood bubble to work with a producer and they shop it out to TV or a film. What if my book could become a show or a movie?
Yep,
And so
exactly.
after I get my official copyright, and the book is done, I'm going to do that. And I don't know where it will go, but why not?
Why not is right. Vicky, Todd, everybody. And for those of you out there, I want to say this to you. The tests, as we call them, may be subtle. They're going to show up. They're probably going to show up in things you love to do most. And I know this because I got caught in one the other night. If you do something you love and other people don't think, one, you're good enough, two, you're old enough, and three, you're a woman, and then you put those all together, and this is something you love, are you willing to fight for it? But it's like Vicky said, it's not getting in there throwing tomatoes. It's being able to approach this confidently, assertively, and standing up for yourself. In the words, absolutely, of Fleetwood Mac, stand back. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, everybody. Thank you for listening to Shine, Delusion, Shine, the radical art of dreaming beyond boundaries. I am Vicki Todd with Dr. Pat. Tune in with us each fourth Thursday at 11 a.m. Pacific on Transformation Talk Radio for more simple, repeatable habits to identify the dreams, gifts, and talents you were born with. Expand your mind and believe your dreams can become a reality. We invite you to tap into the flow of the delusional realm with us to make this world brighter. For more information on living a more fulfilling, destiny-driven life and to connect with me, visit vickyworldart.com.